Continuing on from the last video, the 8th note bass video, we're going to have a look today at some 16th note snare grooves. So what this means basically is, in this context, we're going to be putting snares in between the hi-hats, because the hi-hats are all going to be on the 8th notes. The 16th note snares are going to be coming in between. So the first groove, this one has the snare on the A of 2. So it should sound like this. So if you have any trouble with this groove, the way I usually break it down with my students is we'll play a little exercise that goes something like this. We've got together, hat, and then snare. Together, hat, snare. Together, hat, snare. Repeat that until it feels comfortable, and then try to play the whole groove again. The next groove has the snare on the E of 1, which sounds something like this. If you have any trouble with that groove, the way I usually break it down is I'll play together with the bass, and then snare, and then hat. So together, snare, hat. Together, snare, hat. And just like with the first one, practice it until it feels comfortable, and then try and play the whole groove again. The next groove down, these last two grooves on the page are a little bit more difficult because we've got two snares 1/16th note apart, and it almost feels like you're doing with your left hand what you usually would do with your right hand. And it can be a little bit of a coordination nightmare if you haven't done anything like this before. But the third one should sound like this. Now, if you have any trouble with that groove, the way I usually break this one down is hat, snare, together. Hat, snare, together. Hat, snare, together. If you want to take it a bit further, you can always play just straight 16th notes with the snare, and then 8th notes with the hat. So it looks like that. Once you get that all feeling pretty comfortable, try the same groove. Moving on to the last groove, this one kind of feels like it's the opposite of the third one, which should sound like this. And the exercise I use for this one, if you have trouble, looks like this. Together with the snare, snare, hat. Together, snare, hat. Together, snare, hat. Just like with all the other ones, see if you can get it feeling comfortable, and then put it together with the whole group. if you want to take these grooves a bit further, there are two things I'm going to show you today. One is dynamics. So when we're using 16th notes, what we want to do usually, as a general rule, is play the 16th notes as ghosted notes, so quite quiet, and beats 2 and beat 4 as accents. Let me give you an example of some of these grooves with no dynamics. And let me give you an example of these grooves with dynamics. And the other thing I want to show you today is swing. So now that we're using 16th notes, we have the option to swing those 16th notes, and what that basically means is we're delaying them slightly. So for example, if I were to count out straight 16th notes with no swing, I would count it as 1 E and 2 E and so on. If I am to add swing, it should sound like this: 1 E and 2 E and you can kind of feel a bit of a bounce happening. Now, let me give you an example of these grooves with no swing. Now let me show you what it sounds like with swing. A whole bunch more groovy, right? So see if you can play around with the dynamics, with the swing, see if you can add some fills in, see if you can get it sounding something like this.